Okay, so if you're new to carp fishing or maybe just looking to upgrade your carp rods, it can be a little bit of a minefield, especially with all these rods here, to know which one you want to pick. So in this AD Quickbite, I'm going to run through all the differences so you know which rod suits you best and your fishing. Okay, so the first and most important question you've got to ask yourself is what size carp are you going to be angling for and what size lake are you going to be visiting a majority of the time, because there's different factors which really add up to choosing the right rod, and those ones are probably the most important. So first factor is length. Now carp rods come from sort of your extractables, your really short ones, your sort of 9-footers, and 10-foot stalking rods, and they go all the way up to 13 foot. Now your shorter rods, your extractable and your stalking rods, are perfectly suited for your smaller venues, not necessarily smaller carp, but venues where you're not casting a long distance. So anything up to about sort of 60, 70 yards, 10-foot rods are great, and obviously under that. And then as soon as you try and cast further than that, you're going to struggle. The rods are pretty much undergunned for them sort of distances. The next sort of size rod is your sort of average rod, your middle of the range, and that's your 12-foot rods. Now these are really popular for most anglers because they sort of do a multiple of like variants. You can fish on small waters and you can fish on large waters. And then you have your 13-footers, your big bad boys, which cast to the moon and back. Now these are literally designed just for that. 3.75 test curve and even 4-pound test curve rods are brilliant when you've got 4.5 ounce leads and you're casting a long way, but they're not so great if you're fishing in the margins or doing short little casts. So that's length covered. Let's go on to test curve next. Okay, now test curves. It can be a bit of a minefield because you've got length and test curve to consider, but the general rule of thumb is higher the test curve, the stiffer the rod. Now these days carp rods come from anything 2.75 all the way up to about 4 pounds. Now your 4-pound test curve rods are going to be generally on your distance rods and your casting rods, and these are suited for casting long ways, 100-yard pluses. And your 2.75 test curve rods are going to be aimed at catching, let's say, the smaller carps on smaller venues. They're not going to have the backbone to cast a long way. And your sort of middle of the range rods, i.e. your 3 pounds and your 3.25 pound test curve rods, generally are going to be a happy medium. So you can catch smaller carp on smaller venues and you can cast a long way and catch large carp. Now you can use all these rods for all different size carp, but enjoyment is going to be probably the biggest factor for test curves, because you're not going to get much enjoyment catching a carp on a 4-pound test curve rod if that carp is only sort of 10 pounds. And vice versa, if you're trying to play a 40-50 pound carp on a low test curve rod, you're going to be pulled around all day. So it's just trying to fine tune the test curve to the carp you're fishing for and the lake size you're going to be angling at. Okay, so next thing to think about is the action of the rod. Now what I mean by that is there's 3 actions. There's a through action, there's a fast or tip action, and then you've got your medium action. So through action rods are generally rods for playing fish. They bend from your grip or all the way through the test curve of the rod, and they have a great through action, i.e. you can play carp, you suffer less hook pulls and you get a lot more enjoyment out of it. Now your fast or your tip action rods are generally the ones are going to be suited for your long range, and they generally, all long range rods have that fast action. That means the tip section bends and through the butt section is a lot stiffer, so it can recover quickly from big casts. But unfortunately these aren't great for playing carp. And then obviously your mid action, again, generally it's the best of both, so you can play carp and you can cast a long way, and it's a nice happy medium. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about rings and handle options. Now generally the main difference between the carp rods is your butt rings. So you've got 40mm butt rings on generally your smaller rods, and you have 50mm butt rings on your sort of medium to long range rods. And all that means is how the line travels through it. So if you're casting a long way, generally you'll have a bigger butt ring to accommodate sort of line coming through off your reel through your rings. Now handle options, this is really personal, it makes no difference to how you catch carp, but there's general 4 different handle options you get with carp. So you've got your abbreviated, you've got your slim, shrink wrap, Duplon and cork. Now All you've got to do is decide which one you like the best, and then you can invest in the cork, Duplon, whatever takes your fancy. Okay, so the last thing to consider is price. Now, luckily for you here at Angling Direct, we have lots of different carp rods and all the test curves and lengths, and we'll definitely have one in the budget for you, because we have carp rods from as little as £30 all the way up to sort of £500–600. Now, what I would suggest is head into your local Angling Direct, have a fiddle with some of the carp rods, have a play, check out the specs, but not only that, you can speak to one of our staff members, because we have trained coaches, a lot of experienced anglers who will help you decide what carp rod you want. But thanks for watching. Hope that shed a little bit of light on the minefield of picking a carp rod, and we'll see you on the next one.